This is the best way to play Tracer in Overwatch 2. Tracer is best at controlling flanks thanks to her incredible mobility and high damage as a flanker. Depending on composition, you may want to duel the enemy backline or discourage enemy squishies from taking angles, almost like a shepherd herding sheep back to its herds. Have good trigger discipline, use terrain during your blinks, try and pulse bomb squishies, and time your engage as well. Tracer's weapon, the one-clip machine, makes Tracer shoot her pulse pistols, dealing 5.5 damage per shot at 1200 RPM with 40 ammo. The biggest, most important tip with your weapon is good trigger discipline. Most Tracers in the majority of ranks will suffer from mashing down M1 without taking the time to readjust their own aim, when in fact, this is one of the biggest fundamentals on the hero that can make or break your ability to duel in 1v1s.
You make the recognition that, geez, my tracking isn't that good right now, so I'm going to stop shooting right now, stop. And now start shooting. You're too close, yes, but you're also just mashing down primary fire. Right there, do you see those slight pauses? That right there is probably the best one in terms of demonstrating.
Moreover, when you're unspotted, attempting to one-clip a squishy from an off angle, don't start shooting the instant you see them. Take time to walk to a nearby piece of cover, and or start to slowly close the distance. The last bit of Tracer micro I want to touch on is cover usage and reloads. This does link in with your blink management, but using covers and corners allow you to get a reload off, as well as avoiding any shots from the enemy, alongside buying some time to get your blinks back. Only when you have a full clip or close to it, should you then be aggressing with your blink, looking to dodge and juke the enemy's damage. Speaking of your blink, Tracer's first ability, Blink, makes Tracer move 7.5 meters immediately, with 3 charges, each having a 3-second cooldown. Blink is primarily used to dodge and juke shots from the enemy, which is most useful in 1v1s. Knowing this, there's a few implications. Firstly, you should be dodging and juking when you actually have the ammo to shoot the enemy. If you don't have any ammo, then play corners and cover to buy time to reload. Utilizing cover is actually really important on Tracer during your engage, because if you blink out on the open, you're gonna run out of blinks really quickly. His ex-contenders coach Sword, giving a good example of terrain usage to conserve blinks, also coming up with the 1.5 blink rule, meaning you should always have 1.5 blinks available at all times.
Look how he's looking to play around the space. He plays around the corner. Now he's blinking towards cart. Now he's blinking to the corner again. Remember how I talked about 1.5, 1.5, 1.5? He's at 1.5. A lot of Tracers I know instantly would have double blinked out. They would have blinked from that corner all the way to the choke and been like, all right, like I need to get out of here. Like I'm going to die if I'm still here. He plays it very calmly. He sees that they're starting to push past. He has another blink back up. He goes to this corner. Now again, he has a blink and a half already. I just went through an entire fight, and that fight was not a short fight. That was like a 30-second fight. That's a long fight. And this guy, for 30 seconds, 35 seconds, was able to hold onto his blinks incredibly well. And again, insult to injury. Why is that? Why is he able to have so many blinks? Why does it feel like he's always in the fights? It's the terrain.
And this Tracer player ends up wasting a ton of blinks when they didn't need to. For instance, when dueling this McCree, they didn't have to use 2 blinks just to reach him, and could have played by the stairs, table, or by the left side door using the wrecking ball as cover. Also note the mediocre trigger discipline, which ends up in the use of 3 clips just to kill McCree whilst having the assistance of his ball player. Here's another example where our Tracer player, instead of playing by the left side cover, he swings wide and ends up taking damage, forcing out blinks and decreasing his pressure, all because he couldn't play terrain. Linking onto that, you should avoid blinking when the enemy is reloading. Most reloads are 1.5 seconds in the game, which, while it doesn't sound like a lot, when you're trying to conserve your blinks, every bit matters. On a broader level, most of the time, you don't want to use blinks to reach your target, but rather to use it when engaging a target. This is really important in solo queue, since if you're in a team environment and you want to get into position quicker, you can communicate to say that you need more downtime in order to get your blinks back before you engage.
See how expensive this engage was? You had to use a blink just to get to her, not even to actually engage. If you have to use your blinks to get to a target, 90% of the time that's going to be a mistake. Not every time, but 90%. And so now you have 1 blink where you should have been to begin with.
You also want to ideally finish off a target with a blink remaining to have an almost guaranteed route of retreat. For example, on Rialto first point attack, say you're dueling the enemy backline and things are good. You're utilizing terrain well to conserve your blinks and get reloads off, your trigger discipline is on point, and you send their Zen to spawn. What do you do now? Well, hopefully, you should still have at least a blink available, meaning you should blink out to the nearest piece of cover. If you're in a really tight situation, then recalling here is also another option. Regardless, if you're blinking behind the enemy team, grab a health pack and re-engage from behind once again. Or you could blink in the position closer to your team where you can receive some support. TRACER's second ability, I'm about to head out. Makes Tracer rewind the last 3 seconds of what happened, taking 1.25 seconds to complete, granting Tracer all of her ammo back, paired with a 12-second cooldown. In terms of tech, the main one is to melee just before you recall, cancelling the animation. Aside from that, in terms of border usage, recall is your last resort. It's your get out of jail free card, using it to primarily escape duels that aren't in your favour, allowing you to gather back HP, giving you some breathing room. The duration of recall also gives you a bit more time to charge up a blink, allowing you to make your escape easier. It's not uncommon to see Tracer's recall and blink out. And perhaps something you could do that I haven't seen talked about is that during the recall animation, you could use that time to think about where to blink out to instead of blinking out in the open. Because of the lengthy cooldown, and the fact that you want to maximise your uptime on Tracer, only recall when you need to. And, as I've talked about prior, doing the basic fundamentals of trigger discipline, reload management, blinking the Duke, and utilising terrain or cover should all help you put less reliance on your recall. One last thing I want to touch with your recall is linked onto unnecessarily using it. For example, the amount of Tracers that triple blink and recall off the day pulse bomb amazes me. Sure, it does look flashy, but it's kind of impractical from an uptime perspective. Blink out from danger if you can, instead of always resorting to recall. Tracer's ultimate, tick tick boom, makes Tracer throw a pulse bomb, dealing up to 355 damage, taking up to 1 second to detonate. The main piece of tech is to use pulse bomb a frame before you blink. This can allow for unexpected pulse bombs and quick 180s. I recommend the workshop code BGBXD, where you have a set timer to land a pulse bomb, meaning every frame counts. Now comes in target priority. Do you pulse bomb tanks or squishies? Now, despite tanks being easier targets to hit, thanks to their bigger hitboxes, I still think pulsing squishies, since it's a guaranteed kill, is the right move to make. I believe at the pro level, pulse bomb attach rates are above 60%, and considering that sticking a pulse bomb on a squishy is a pretty much guaranteed fight win, there's no real reason to stick tanks unless you can confirm the kill. In essence, pulse bomb should be something to aid your engagement, and not something to fully rely on in terms of winning teamfights, especially when trying to stick squishies. If you're looking to get multiple kills with Pulse Bomb without a combo, pulsing rotations from the enemy backline, or in other words, when they're in open space, can catch them off guard. Now onto the most important section of the guides: positioning, playstyle, and compositions. Before I get onto that bit though, I quickly want to cover timing. In short, the more aggressive and lethal your engages are on Tracer, the later you want to be timing them into the fights. This is because as the fight goes on, your frontline's going to be drawing more and more attention away, allowing you to be more aggressive in the backline. This is really important if you have Pulse Bomb, but if you just want to split some attention and create some space for your team, then going a bit earlier isn't a bad idea.
So that's like a good idea for you. Like if you're playing into a comp like a BAP Zen or something like that, where you're like, bro, I can absolutely murder these guys, or I've got Pulse Bomb or something like that, you need to probably be pushing your timing, remember that was a big point for you, a little bit later. But if there's a comp where you're like, I don't have pulse, there's not a lot of how I can kill, I can just be a distraction, then you can kind of go a little bit early to bait attention for your team. Why is this Lucio looking at you? There's just nothing to look at right now, right? Like, now you go, but you're already out now. You're already in mid-pulse animation. Now, it ends up being good enough, but we don't want good enough, do we? We want better. With the pulse there, especially in a comp where sticky is like really easy, you needed to go second there.
Now onto the playstyle stuff. Tracer is one of the most versatile heroes in the game and can fit into pretty much any team composition. This is why I'm going to use a similar example to the one I used in my Sombra guide to help explain Tracer's different playstyles and the benefits and drawbacks of running Tracer over Sombra. So don't place too much attention on the map right now, just focus more so on the team composition of Ryan, Lucio, Moira, Ashe and Tracer and the different playstyles and options that you have. The first thing you can do on Tracer, and as a classic, traditional playstyle, is to flank behind and go for backline. Now I actually advised against doing this in my Sombra guide, because Sombra lacks the damage and mobility that a Tracer has. As Tracer, you could pretty easily duel a Moira or an Ashe, but to avoid that Lucio, make sure you time your engage later into the fight, as Spyro talked about in that Icon Ward clip. Another option you have is mirroring or clearing flankers. Mirroring just means matching or facing a hero, so here, if their Tracer decides to flank into your backline, you could clear her out, using all those tips I talked about earlier in the video. So why would you want to do this? Well, if your backline is very squishy, like Ana Zen, you can upkeep them alive. Your Zen can also give you orbs, which make you have the advantage in the duel, and generally speaking, Ana Zen is going to get more value than a Lucio Moira due to their damage and utility. Your third option, linked onto that, is to control flanks. Now by dueling and mirroring the Tracer, you kind of are doing that, but this is more broadly referring to their Ashe. If their Ashe decides to hard flank or take an angle, and this is what Tracer is really good at, almost acting like a shepherd, shepherding the Ashe back to the herd of her teammates.
When you try and set up your flanks, the Tracer blink, she's on top of you, and she punishes you for taking a flank. She can be anywhere that she wants at any time. They're all clumped up like scared rabbits on top of each other. Why? Tracer. How much spam damage do you think Izyaki's putting? Is Gesture under a lot of pressure from Discord right now? No. Is Lige Gong and the Echo and the Zen, the Tracer, are they smashing the crap out of Gesture's shield and killing tanks and winning the spam war right now? No.
And that's pretty much it for Tracer. Unfortunately, you don't really have the range of Sombra to farm their tank consistently, although if you have cover, a good angle, and they're low HP, you could still do that I suppose. In short, Tracer's amazing ability to duel pretty much anyone in the game, and her ability to be pretty much anywhere on the map, allows her to easily control anyone who dares to flank, as well as giving her the flexibility to dive the enemy backline. Depending on how much of a glass cannon your backline is, you may want to mirror or clear flanks before heading straight onto the enemy backline. And that's it for the guys. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and if this video helped to raise your IQ, be sure to share it with your friends to also raise theirs. Until next time.